Welcome to the Music and Memories Podcast with your host, Vince Moreno.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Music and Memories. I'm your host, Vince Moreno, as usual. Before we get into today's session, I just wanted to remind everybody to please share this link. If you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever you guys may be on social media, share this link when I post it. A lot of times it gets hidden in the algorithm, so just try to get it out there to everybody. And we're just trying to share this thing because it's music and it's memories. It's a lot of good stories. And so far, we've had some pretty good guests. And today, we've got an extra special guest today, my fishing buddy, my hunting buddy, my music picking buddy. He's a steel guitarist extraordinaire, and he also played steel guitar for Mr. George Jones for 30 years. Today we got Mr. Tom Killen. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. I know that you spent a lot of time on the road with George Jones, and I know you got tons and tons of stories. I've heard a lot of them, and I'm sure there's a bunch that I haven't heard because you got so many of them. I hate to do this whole podcast just revolving around that, but that's pretty much what your life revolved around for a good 30 years. Is that correct?
That's exactly. Everything was about George Jones for 30 years. I missed lots of weddings and high school graduations, everything.
Boy, you ain't lying.
It was about George, and that is, we always said, welcome to another day of Love That Road.
Well, you bring up a good point, and a lot of the podcasts that I've done with a lot of artists, we haven't really talked about that, but you brought up a good point, about missing weddings and birthdays, anniversaries. You miss a lot of good stuff from the home life that
you do.
That, I mean, you just can't call out sick when you're in your line of work that we are. You just can't call out sick. You can't call out and say, hey, I'm not going to come out this weekend because my wife's anniversary or it's Valentine's Day, or, a lot of stuff that a lot of people with normal jobs can do that. We can't do that.
No.
I mean, and that's why you see a lot of musicians say, well, I got married this year and divorced this year because, they see that we're out touring and having it is a fun life. It's a great life.
It's a fun life, but it's not a fun life if you have a family because you are expected to make all the gigs, and you do. That's why we always laughed and said, welcome to another day of Love That Road.
Yeah.
Anytime we would out on the road and there was a graduation or a birth or something, you're like, oh, yeah. Damn. I missed my first son's birth by 1 hour. I was doing Nashville Now.
Oh, so you were in town?
I was in town, and I would call the hospital. No, she's not in labor yet. And I called, yep, she's gone. So I'm like, oh, no.
Wait a second.
Wait for me.
Yeah, we just got to do this one chorus one more time. And hold on for me, baby.
I won't forget it. I was on, it was the Ralph Emery show.
Yeah.
And Ray Price was on there, too. And one of my steel guitar people I love so much was on there, the great Buddy Emmons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How could you even play around someone like
I couldn't.
that? I mean,
I had a child on the way, and that was a tough night.
Were you nervous wreck, I bet?
Very nervous.
Oh, my God.
Unbelievably nervous.
So you got the job done, though?
I did.
No, you said that was your
that was my first son, Matt.
Was that Matt?
That's Matt. Yeah.
Now, most people don't know this, and you may not want to talk about it, but he's got a pretty important job. Oh, Matt has
done well.
Man, he's come up to do. What's he doing now? Let's. You want to let that cat out of that bag?
He's a pro golf instructor, and as pro, I mean like on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, man. I remember seeing him. I guess it's been a few months ago or something, but Tiger Woods was playing this thing, and there was your son Matt right there showing him how to hold a putter. Well,
that if because I wasn't at the hospital when he came out, and I suppose he learned it all on his own.
So he wasn't. That's why he's not holding a steel guitar. He's holding a putter instead.
Exactly, and that's a good choice.
Oh, that's amazing, man. He's got such a cool job. I see his posts on Instagram and stuff, and he's always in a private jet somewhere. But,
yeah.
But he's earned his way, man. I remember you telling me some of the stories about him that he just right there, because you guys live in Franklin, Kentucky, right?
Right.
So he grew up around there, and there's a pretty famous golfer that's from there, or a golf course or something,
no,
right?
it's a golfer. Kenny Perry.
That's right. I couldn't think of his name, Kenny Perry. So he kind of got under his wing a little bit there.
Yes,
right?
he did. Yes, he did.
Well, that's too cool, man. And then, so did you miss it? How many kids do you have?
Got
That you pay for, I mean.
for far as I know, all I've got's the 3.
And that's Matt, Nathan, and your beautiful daughter?
And Amanda. Yes.
Amanda, yeah. She's my favorite one just because she's the prettiest one.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Nathan's pretty too, but Nathan's pretty good at turkey calling, I know that.
Yes, he is.
And they all live in Franklin, don't they?
Yep.
Franklin, Kentucky?
Yes, they do.
And they're all aspiring musicians?
No, they are not.
Well, you got a brother that doesn't he own a steel guitar?
He does own one.
That's about it. All right, and moving on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He comes out and sees us play every now and then, so that's the only reason I know that. But anyway, just some cool tidbits there about old Tom Killen's family there, and not to forget his wife Deb, who's also the head of the household.
She's the boss.
She's the boss, and she's allowing you to do this thing right now.
And that's just because she's at work.
Somebody's got to make the money in this thing.
That's right.
Oh man, so I know you grew up playing dance halls and bars like everybody else, earning their keep and learning your craft and honing your skills and all that stuff. But what brought you to the George Jones outfit? Did you have to have an audition? Did somebody refer you? Or back in the day, they used to do this thing in Nashville called the cattle call, where they would just put out, the word to certain musicians and everybody come out for an audition. Is that the type of thing that you had to deal with George?
I got a call from his lead guitar player that George was going to be holding the auditions on a certain date, and if I was like to try out.
Mm-hmm. Who was the lead guitar player back then?
His name was Rob Watkins. I think he lives in Texas now.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, if I did go up there, and George was sitting on a stool to my left, and we were playing a song called Once You Had the Best.
Yeah.
And I kicked it off and played, and about halfway in the song, the third string broke and popped him in the small of the back.
Oh,
and he didn't ever quit. He just kept on and sang. I thought, oh, my God.
Were you sitting that close, or was he sitting that close to you?
That close.
Wow.
That close. I mean, real close. I mean, I was nerved up bad.
Wow.
Bad. And the string pops, he don't quit, he just sings. And when we get done, he looked at me, he goes, damn, son, that hurt. Do you want the job or not? I said, yeah, I do, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. But anyways, looked out and got the job.
That's got to be nerve-wracking. You're sitting there auditioning for one of the biggest artists probably the 80s, or ever, I mean, but at that time in the 80s, and your string breaks.
Well, I could just play, and I'd look, and he has this wedge hair that's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's all I can see is, oh, my God, I'm sitting right next to George Jones. And then I break a string, and it hits him in the back.
Where was this? Where was the audition held?
It was at, I don't know if they've changed it or not. There was an old rehearsal studio downtown. It was called FIR.
Oh, yeah, that's still there. Yeah, that's still there.
And
wow, that's been around a long time.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like at 12th and Demumbrian or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. There's a couple of rehearsal halls, and I always get them mixed up, so I don't remember which one is which. But
anyways, it was downstairs, and I won't forget, I was setting up my steel, and I see these boots with points on the toes walking down the stairs.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was George. I was like, wow. I mean, he looked like he looked like the real deal.
So he came in there dressed like show ready, huh?
Yes,
like he was.
Yes, he did.
Damn.
It was amazing.
Did he have an aura about him? I've heard other stories from other, like, Hal Rugg, who was a pretty famous steel player too. He played with me in Tucson a while, and he had some funny stories about, because he worked with George. I think that was back in the 60s even, or 70s or whenever,
Yes, he did. I loved Hal and his playing. Man,
oh man, he played great.
Great dude.
He was a great dude to me, but He had a couple stories that I don't know if we can tell on here or not.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, so
like
when I upload these podcasts to the SoundCloud and all that stuff, it always asks the thing like, is this explicit or not explicit? I'm like, well, I'm sure there might be a couple of them coming up that could be explicit. But yeah, he would tell me stories, and I always wondered, how some of these big artists, they just have they get that big beat legendary because they have like this aura around them.
They do, Vince. I'll tell you one for sure who did was Cash.
Really?
He could walk in the room. You didn't have film, and you knew he was in there.
Dang.
It was weird. And George appeared scared to death of him.
Really?
George had told me Cash taught him how to no-show. But one time we were doing a rehearsal for I think it was the CMA Awards.
Yeah.
And they had the cue cards up there like they did in the old days before the teleprompters.
Right.
And George was wanting to complain about everything. All he did was complain. We couldn't even get the song. I think it was we're playing Who's Going to Fill Their Shoes.
Uh-huh.
And he was supposed to read or something, and he'd complain. And about that time, Cash walked by. He goes, little pal, what's wrong? Are they not letting you have your way again? And once he said that, man, he straightened up. He was a perfect gentleman the rest of the show, the rest of the rehearsal.
Really?
Yep.
So you guys needed Johnny out there the whole
Yeah, we did.
30 years?
One time, Johnny did a show at Jones Country in Texas. It was about 84 or 5. It was a park that Jones had built, and he had a bunch of artists out there.
Oh, okay.
And we had to take
like an amphitheater type of thing.
It was an amphitheater type thing.
Okay.
And we had to take Johnny and June and the band back on our bus to Houston to catch a plane. So it was about a 2-hour ride.
Damn, so you rode the bus with those guys?
Yes.
Dang, that's incredible.
And at the time, Johnny's bass player was the husband to one of his daughters, and his lead guitar player was the great Marty Stewart.
Oh, wow.
And that's when he was an in-law, too.
Yeah.
And anyways, on the way back, I mean, George was always notorious to complain about sound, and he complained the whole day.
Oh,
that
yeah.
day.
Just it would ruin his whole day, huh?
Right. And Cash gets up there and does a perfect show, and he looks at me. He goes, "Son, what's wrong with the sound?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Oh, it's temperament. I get it."
Who said that? Johnny?
Cash did.
Oh, did he? Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So he kind of kept George in line a little bit.
He did.
I wonder. What, did he have something over George, or just that powerful feeling?
I don't know, but if they stood next to each other, Cash appeared at least a foot taller than George.
Oh yeah, I mean he was a tall dude anyway, but
and he had a big voice. I mean, he did. I was never a fan of his, but I respect.
Right.
Respect everything he did.
Yeah, that's funny because I obviously I wasn't around it, but jokingly when we're playing downtown or we're doing a gig or something, somebody asks for Johnny Cash, and we all go because I mean a lot of his songs are just so they're so mundane, they're so the same melody over again, and it's just kind of like I never
same
was
old thing.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan either, but
I have to say though, in Cash's defense, we did a bunch of package shows.
Yeah.
And when he came out, the crowd went wild. He was always in black.
Yeah.
His band was in black tuxes, and they played everything exactly like the record. So it sounded. I mean, it
wasn't
was
that
the
the
real
same
deal.
guys who actually recorded on the record? Was most of them that? Wasn't the same guys?
The only one left when I was there was the drummer. I'm trying to think of his name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, back in the day, a lot of people don't realize this, but back in the day, a lot of artists would use the same, their road band on their sessions because they wanted it to sound the same as it did on the radio or whatever. So, not so much later on I think they started using more studio musicians than it did,
right.
But so those guys are playing it just exactly like you heard it. Which,
they played it exactly, which...
It's not really hard.
No, but
it's not really
I'm just saying that when you went to a Cash show, that's exactly what you got.
What you see is what you get, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. You've been around so many artists. It's probably hard to keep track of all the legends you've just been around just because of George
Right.
put you all
I
there.
was just
right?
lucky to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know that Cash and George were tight. They were extremely good friends.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. You probably got to hang around Haggard, and
I did.
And was Waylon ever around?
He
you guys,
was a
man?
real good friend of George's.
Really, right? Waylon
Yeah.
was. Mm-hmm. That's too
Yeah.
cool, man.
There's some stories I could tell about. We had to get George one time. He went over to Waylon's house, and I was at the office when there was an office for George of about 84, and we get a call, and it's actually Waylon. He goes, "Would you come and pick up this crazy man? I've got him hogtied and gagged in the middle of my living room floor." And he did. We went over there, and he did.
You say we like the band?
The man did, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Did George not have a manager back then?
He did. He did, but
yeah.
they thought that he was needing us all.
Oh my gosh.
Because he was wound up, I think.
He was wound up,
Yep,
son.
yep.
Dang. Well, it's like I think most of the people out there, in general people, they know that he had a drug addiction and alcohol addiction and all that stuff. So it's like most of those stories, that crazy stories, probably derived when he was super high or super drunk, right?
Yes. But here's what's so wild. If George had drank a lot or whatever, he could always sing.
Oh yeah,
he was always good.
Really,
always. His pitch was on, and I mean, God, if he thought that people were actually paying attention to him, like us in the band, if we were like intense, he'd sing to us all night long, and I mean, he was so good.
So he kind of showing out a little bit if he knew the people wanted to hear it. Or
if he thought the crowd was into it, he was George Jones. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
I mean,
but then there's times like I remember you telling stories about he would come out for the whole show and sing like Donald Duck or something like that?
He did that. He would he'd get in these modes. He would get in the duck mode and get in the old man mode. He had a guy, he called him the old man.
Like just a character he would do?
And he would go into character and stay in there the whole show.
What?
Like the old man and the duck.
Where did that come from? I mean, was that a TV show he saw and he started doing a voice?
I have no clue. He just did some crazy things.
What would I mean, I can't do Donald Duck very good, but would he just come out and talk like that, or
talk like a duck and sing like a duck?
He'd sing like that too.
And one time I forgot we were on a show with Mel Tillis.
Yeah.
And Mel was mad. He goes, "What am I supposed to do? Slap a duck?" He was mad about it.
I bet he was.
He goes, "I can't smack a duck."
That's gotta be kind of embarrassing. I mean, would he do it for like the whole show, 90 minutes, an hour, whatever it was?
Yeah, but back on those days, if George stayed on the show for like half hour, we were lucky.
Oh, really? I was just say, wouldn't somebody stop that at some point, like the promoter?
He
or
was
somebody?
just a short show, man. We did a lot of short shows, and then as George aged, and after 2000, we did shows that were always over 2 hours long.
Oh, wow.
And one day I asked, I said, "George, how come our shows are so long?" He goes, "Well, son, I used to shortchange these people in the old days. I'm trying to pay them back now." That's what he told me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, then also, he probably had enough songs to do 2.5 hours, I mean, all day long.
Yes.
Plus covers if he wanted to.
There was a stage, he would go in and he goes, "Folks, it is request time."
No way.
And every time we did, I'd always yell out, "Po Chinese, Po Chinese." He said, "I can't do that song." It one that had 1,000 words in it. It was an old one, and he said, "I don't remember that."
That's like I tell people, I can't do that song. It's got too many words.
Yeah, but yeah,
I've never heard that song.
Well, that's one to look up. It's funny.
Po Chinese?
Po Chinese.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to YouTube that later or something.
Yeah.
So, all the years doing all that, what's I wouldn't say your craziest story, but didn't you have your first gig? What was that like? What was the very first show like? I mean, did you have time to rehearse and practice, or
No.
once you got the audition, did you guys scoot right out, or what?
The first gig was at a nightclub in Nashville.
Oh, really?
It was the Georgia farewell to Nashville because he was about to move to Texas, and they had everybody on the show that you could think of.
Well, wasn't he from Texas? What do you mean?
Yes, he was, but he had lived in Nashville for a long time, or like
I
since
see.
the 70s.
He was just going to move back there to live there.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. Okay.
And he did, but I won't forget on the first show, we would back the Gatlins and Jack Green and all that, which was wild. I mean,
so you guys had to learn all that material.
Yes, we did,
and
in like a day.
Oh wow! And then you guys had to just back everybody. You guys did a lot, didn't you?
Yeah.
Didn't you back a lot of stars like that?
Yes, we did. And I won't forget the only one that I really. Oh God, I had never played it before. If you go, we got a special guest. Get her up here. To Jack Green's singing partner, Miss Jeannie Feely, and she does "Don't Touch Me." I had never played it.
Oh, really?
And then we played verse, and of course she looked at me and said, "Steel guitar solo."
Oh,
and I freaked out. I mean, I did start on the right note, and I ended up on the right note, but the in between was not good.
All the middle was jazz. Huh?
It was not good.
That's the jazz version.
And every time I ever ran into her, I always thought she don't like me because I didn't play her song right.
She probably don't even remember that.
I'm sure she doesn't, but I do.
Well, next time I see her, I'm going to ask her. Next time I'm at the opera, I was like, hey, you remember when you played that? She'd be like, oh, yeah, that jazz guy.
Yeah, all right.
He played some really funky notes that night.
Ooh, it was bad.
Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine that, man. You don't play a bad note. I've never heard it.
Oh, I play lots of bad notes.
Oh, I've heard a couple.
Yeah, you will, too. But one thing about it, I learned from George. He told me if I played a bad note, he wanted to hear it. So they're going to be loud.
Yeah.
I learned that from George.
Well, I mean,
if you're going,
there's no reason to play timid.
Nope.
You know,
not.
I'm the same way. It's like if I make a mistake, it's going to be
you're going to hear me. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm
I told a certain act that I was only with for, I won't mention any names, but it rhymes with Macy Lawrence. And I told a certain act, I said, they were like, yeah, we heard a mistake here and there. And I was like, look, man, I make mistakes all the time, but you're not going to find anybody more passionate, to play the music, I said, but yeah, I make mistakes all the time. And they're like, well, we're just used to a certain caliber, I'm like, well, yeah, that's fine. I can be at that caliber for about 4 measures of a song, I mean, I was lighthearted about it, but it's like, hey, man, music is about expressing yourself and you're not going to play, and especially if you want to, we play downtown quite a bit.
You can't
and
play
it's like,
perfect all the time. It will not happen.
Well, I don't even want to. Like when we play downtown, it's like that's kind of my room to spread my wings if I want to try a different little run on the guitar or
you dang right.
You know what I mean? It's
right.
like, but I mean, I understand when you're on an artist gig, you got to play everything,
right? Just
exactly
like the
record,
right?
And I
that's
get
what
that,
they want.
But if you make a mistake, man, it's like, hey, what?
Laugh about it.
Well, I mean, is it really something to just end a job over? I mean,
it's not.
It's not.
No.
But there was other stuff going on there besides that on that gig. But anyway, I'm out there with Aaron Tippin nowadays, and a lot of times he'll make a mistake and he'll look back at us and laugh.
That's what you got to do.
What
it's
are you
part
do?
of it.
Yeah, I mean,
part of it.
It's not a big deal.
You aren't a machine. You're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And when you do, you laugh about it.
Yeah, you just move on and play the next note.
Next note. That's right. You can't harp on the last one.
That's
the next
right.
note.
Did George ever come down on you guys like that if you made a mistake? Or?
No.
I mean, afterwards, he said you wanted to hear it, but
George was. He knew that all of us were wanting to play good all the time, and if we had a real good night, he goes, "God, boy, y'all played so good last night." But as far as the playing, it didn't ever come down on us.
I've heard of certain camps that they'll review the show after the show and be like, okay, so and so didn't play this right, or you need to play this a little harder, or sing this note this way and that way, and it's like, what? I mean, that just takes the fun out of it right there for me. I mean,
well, of course it does.
I couldn't do it. But.
There was like one time I had goofed on Once You Had the Best. That was a kickoff.
Yeah.
And he said, "Fun, you need to start that again. That wasn't it." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I did, and that's the only time I'd ever screwed it up.
But you know what? There's a lot of his songs that kind of have very similar steel intros.
They do.
So I mean, how did you just not go like start one off and he's going wait? I mean, but Damn, some of them are...
George actually would know the difference.
Dang.
But I got to tell this. He has one song that has it's a really crazy lead guitar part that kicks off. And it's called "I Don't Need Your Rocking Chair."
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, we had a guy. He would tell, "Okay, son, that wasn't right. You need to start that again." And he would do that about every week, and sometimes on the show it'd be like 5 times in a row. No, that wasn't right. You got to do it again. And all we could do is laugh. And George wasn't mad. He was tickled about it because it's hard to play.
Yeah, it's got a weird time signature and it's got a weird lick.
And George he'd get to laughing over there. He felt, "Oh no, that ain't good enough. You got to do it again."
That's too funny. Right in front of everybody.
In front of everybody.
Oh my God!
If there's 2,000 people or 10,000.
Boy, that would make you want to sit down and learn that lick.
And they'd go back and woodshed, and then it'd come that time you see them get the shakes before it was time to kick off.
Oh my God!
That's tough.
There's been songs like that for me that when I was playing keyboards with Neil, there was a song that it was just me and him, and when I first got hired with him, he said, "All right now, this song has got to be just like the record, And I'm like, okay, cool. And it was in B, it's like, that's one of those keys that you got to play the black keys with too, you got to play the black key, which is something I wasn't very good at, familiar with anyway at that time. So I sat there and I woodshedded this song, every hour of the day, man, until I got, until we got out there.
Right.
And he's like, all right, let's run that song. And the very first show that we did was up at Hodag in Wisconsin.
That's a big show.
Yeah, that's a huge show. It's like 40,000.
Yeah.
Tons of people there.
Yeah. That's a big show.
So he's like, all right, we're going to do this thing, and it's just going to be me and you, on this song. I'm like, oh, God, okay, what else? I said, oh, by the way, we're filming a live DVD that night. I'm like, God, anything else you want to throw at me? No,
yeah.
So for the remainder of the 4 years that I was with him, every time it was a song called You Let Me Be the Hero. Mm-hmm. And it was a beautiful song, but it was one of those songs that, man, it got engraved in my mind to just be nervous as hell before
every time
I played.
You did it.
Every time my hands would get sweaty, I would get so nervous. So my very first time to play the Opry, we get backstage and he says, "All right," he'd decide the songs we're going to play then because it was always by the seat of your pants, and he says, "All right, we're going to do Shake, Wink, and Hero," and I went, "Neil, you got to be shitting me." I said, "No." I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, you'll be all right, buddy." So we get out there, and I think we started the damn segment off with that song, and he introduced me, and he said, "All right, for the first time in the Opry," and he's real nervous, y'all, so make sure you clap real loud if he makes a mistake or something like that.
Oh, no.
And it was just one of those things.
That's great.
I played it great, but it was one of those songs. And did you have a song like that was just like every time you knew it was coming? You still knew it was coming, but...
It wasn't a George Jones song. It was an instrumental.
Oh, really?
He would make us play at least 2 in every show.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And this one was it's called the Black Mountain Rag. And it's fast. And it wasn't like I was afraid of it, but I wanted to play it clean and good every time. And it's real easy to like flop it. I mean, I want it to be clean. And every time we would do a TV show, he goes, "Here's the boys, we're going to play the Black Mountain Rag." And I'd like, "Oh, boy." And I would get all tight and tensed up, and my hands, like you said, would sweat, and I get the shakes. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I played it 1,000 times. I can play it again. And sometimes it'd be real good, and sometimes it wouldn't.
Man, I hate that feeling. And there would be times where there was a while, probably for the first year, and he probably doesn't know this because he used to tease me about it because he knew that I was nervous about it. But for like the first year, maybe longer, every show I'd go out and be like, because we didn't have a set list with Neil. So every show I was just like, I would wait to a certain part of the show before I could relax because I knew he was going to call the song at certain venues. If it was a casino.
Same way with the Black Mountain Rag. After we were done, I was like, yes.
Yeah. Well, there were some places he wouldn't call it. Like I knew he wasn't going to do that at a big festival most of the time or a fair or something like that. But if it was like a casino sitting, or a theater, I would be like nervous all day going, oh crap, we're going to do Hero tonight. I can just feel it. And then sometimes we'd reach that certain part of the show where I knew that we weren't going to do it again. I just relax and have fun. But it was like for the first, 30, 40 minutes, I'd be like a nervous wreck thinking, God, he's going to call this song. I hated that feeling, man.
Oh, I know.
It sucked.
I understand. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I was really lucky. I didn't ever have any goof ups on a TV show.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. You guys did a lot of TV.
And man, we were on tons of it. One time we were on the Opry.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to bag Shelby Lynn. I don't know if I've ever told you this story or not.
I don't know, but she was a great artist.
She could sing.
Yeah.
She could. And we were going to do I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry on the TV spot.
Okay.
And I was involved. This was the largest train wreck I was ever involved on the TV show, but it was not my fault. I mean, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus.
That's okay.
But we rehearsed on So Lonesome I Could Cry, and it's waltz time.
Yeah.
And I kicked it off in waltz time, and it came time for the TV show, and the guy kicked it off. He said, the kick was supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and when he said 4, everyone on the stage of the Opry got the deer in the headlights look.
I threw everybody off.
And I didn't come in. I didn't know where to come in. He said we're playing it, in 4 time instead of waltz time. And so she just comes in and starts to singing. And finally, about after a verse, he realized it was waltz time, so he started playing in waltz time.
Oh, he was playing it in 4/4 time?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And when we got done, she walked past me. She goes, well, at least y'all look good.
Oh, snap.
And at the time, Weldon Myrick was the house guitarist over there, and he was, I loved him to death, and I always talked to him after the show.
Yeah.
I picked up my steel off stage of the Opry. I looked at the floor. I looked at the dressing room. That's where I went.
Yeah.
I never looked back that night. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, and they probably thought it was you because you're the one that kicked the song off, right? So they probably thought it was...
Could have,
yeah.
But I won't forget our bass guitar player. He flung his bass off, tossed it on the couch, and he was mad. He was cuffed, and he said, we're all going to die and go to hell if we messed up a Hank Williams song on the Grand Ole Opry. And that's true story.
Well, Hank Williams wasn't even allowed to go on the Opry, so...
I know,
You're listening to Music and Memories with Vince Moreno.
So, man, did you have any, was there any crazy bus stories? I'm sure there was. I mean, you guys are on that bus a long damn time. Most of the time we're on there, and,
we got some crazy bus stories. I could tell you about one time when we were coming back from Ponderosa Park up in Salem, Ohio.
Yeah.
And there was a huge amount of traffic right before we got to Cincinnati. Don't know if it was a wreck or what. But on our little lane it was stopped, and we would run our tour bus right behind his. Mm-hmm. So we're stopped, and a call comes over. Would you send all the boys over to play cards? And of course, they call my name. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
So if he was wanting to play cards, it was mandatory.
Oh yeah. That's one thing you had to join him in, huh?
Yeah, and. So we went. He liked to play poker, and I got an uncle that worked with George. His name was Dale Potter. He played the fiddle.
Oh, okay.
And he played with George back in the '60s. And when I got this job, he told me, "Son, whatever you do, don't play with George cards because he makes up his own rules." So
you had a heads up. Huh?
I did have a heads up, but anyway, it was kind of if he was wanting to play cards, it was mandatory.
Oh, damn. And you didn't say no to the boss, huh?
Nope. So at the time, he had two of his sons were out on the road, and they had made a pot of spaghetti. and his bus was brand new. It had a white interior.
Oh, really? So I had a stove in there because I know a lot of the coaches now they don't have that.
Right, and they had cooked this big pot of spaghetti. It was sitting on the stove. And George did not like to lose. He liked to win.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone had had some drinks, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Well, you guys are sitting still on the highway, right? Just sitting there.
And there's a lot of alcohol, and I had drank some too.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but anyways, our lead guitar player is a stand-up guy. He's not one of these guys that's politically correct. If he thinks you're wrong, he will call you on it. He don't care if you're the president of the United States, George Jones, whoever.
Yeah.
If he thinks you're wrong, he's going to call you on it.
Uh-huh.
Well, Clyde had a full house, and George didn't have anything but a pair of tubes, and he raised Clyde. And Clyde gets he gets a bunch of $100 bills out behind his pictures in his wallet, and he puts a ton out there. There's like thousands of dollars. And he says, I raise you back, George. Chiefy, he says, it's going to cost you to see the real deal. And so George called him, and Clyde turned over a full house. When George did, he turned the table over. Oh. He turned over that pot of spaghetti that was up on the ceiling.
Oh, God.
And he got so mad, he picked up a Bud Light full beer, I won't forget. He tossed it at Clyde as hard as he could.
Oh, my gosh.
Clyde ducked. It went past him. It missed the bus driver's head, he was in the seat in case the traffic picked up.
Yeah.
And it went past his head, and it smacked the windshield, and it bulged out.
The window did?
The window bulged out.
Didn't break?
It did break. It just bulged out.
What?
I don't know. Anyways, we got off the bus, and Clyde stood over there and picked up all of the money and all the spaghetti sauce and everything.
Oh, my God.
And we're like, we're getting out of here. And we went back on our bus. And I get home. This was a Sunday night, so I could guess it was around Tuesday. You get a call from home on my home phone, because at the time there weren't any cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it was 88 or 9.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Jones's wife. She goes, I understand y'all ran into a bird last night and it broke the windshield on the bus. I said, yeah, that's what they told me. She goes, well, I want to know, was the bird on the inside? Why does it bulge out? I said, you'll have to talk to George about that. She goes, no, I'm wanting to know about it. I said, I don't know. I wasn't over there. I lied. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with that.
Wow.
Well, that's not the end of the story. George did not like to lose, like I said.
Yeah.
And Clyde had made him look bad in front of the band because we called him on the tubes and the full house.
Yeah.
And we're playing a gig on a Thursday night in Huntsville, Texas. It's the Prison Rodeo.
Okay.
You're not supposed to have any alcohol or anything out there.
Oh, yeah.
First they have the rodeo. Then they pull a round stage out there that rotates.
Yeah.
And we go out there and get on the stage, and Clyde had to have his wine. He always had 2 red solo cups full of wine. He puts them on his amp.
Uh-huh.
That's he don't have that. He ain't playing. That's just
really?
Clyde, yeah.
Yeah.
And George have a red solo cup with Jack and 7, and it's full.
Yeah.
He puts it on Clyde's amp. And I saw it happen. I said, those don't look good.
Oh,
and, well, we played about 2 songs, and George reaches over there and gets the wrong cup. He gets a big slug of Clyde's wine, and he spits it everywhere. And he looks at Clyde. He goes, 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
Oh, snap.
And I'm thinking, oh, boy, that's real good.
Yeah.
So we're playing The Race Is On, and Clyde's supposed to play the first part, and I'm supposed to play the second on the solos. Uh-huh. And Clyde was mad, I guess, because George spit his wine.
Took his wine, yeah.
And it comes time for his part, and he looked at me. He called me Curly. He goes, Curly, you got it. I said, okay. So I played both parts. And I'm playing, and I'm hearing this conversation between George and Clyde. They're going, Clyde's George goes, "You're supposed to be playing." He goes, "Hey, Chiefy, I got 2 weeks to play it in." And boy, that made George so mad.
Oh, man, he sounds like a little instigator, huh?
When we got done, he said, "Put him on the first plane. I don't ever want to see him again."
Oh,
so
my
we
God.
went to the Houston airport. We dropped off Clyde at the airport, and we went to West Palm Beach of Florida. And George said if the bus stopped between there and West Palm Beach to eat, we're all fired. So
Dang.
George, I think he'd had a lot to drink. So
That's a long drive.
So he passed out in the back of the bus so that we could get a call from the bus driver. Yeah, he's sleeping. So we stopped and get some food to eat, and he tells him we stopped at a truck stop. We're out of fuel. So anyways, we ate. We go to West Palm Beach, and we're working a show with Reba McEntire, and she's hot right then. She's just starting to catch on. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
she's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And we're wanting to play good, around all these artists. So
Yeah.
I didn't know the guy, but there's this guy's name Richard Smith, and he plays good. He was Clyde's replacement. Only thing is, he plays it he plays just. I guess you would say that he's a southpaw, or he plays left-handed.
Oh, a lefty, yeah.
Yeah.
Left-handed guitar player.
And I rehearsed all the songs, worked everything up.
Did they fly this guy in, or was he on the bus?
No, he flies in, and I play all day long in the hotel room. And then we
Oh, you guys rehearsing him, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
We go to the sound check, run the show twice. He's good, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we play, and we get done. George said, "I don't like him." We go, "Why?" Because he's a lefty.
Oh, dang, just because he played left-handed?
So we call Stevie Henson, and he plays with us for the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah, Steve. Yeah, he's great.
And he played great. He
Great
was
musician, man.
Great player, man.
I remember seeing videos of Steve playing guitar, which
Yes.
most people know him as a steel guitar player.
But,
Yeah.
Well, Steve excels at both of them.
Yeah, he's great.
Yes, he's great.
So he got the job after the old lefty couldn't.
Yep.
George
did not like the just because it was odd, I guess, because he's lefty.
He probably looked over there and thought, "Man, am I high or not? Or is that guy playing backwards? Is that guy playing backwards?"
Yeah. Oh, but
Well,
that was that. Oh gosh, there was. George liked his football, and when these big TV things came out, not the small dishes, but the ones that are 6 foot.
Oh yeah, the TV dish.
George had one on his bus because he wanted to watch his football. And I won't
How in
forget.
the hell did he?
Oh, if football was on, we'd had to stop on the side of the road. Up the dish would go.
Oh no!
And there, one time
We can't stop for food.
No, one time we're in a hotel lot. We just got done on a Sunday afternoon with the show, and we're all wanting to go home. Well, we got to wait until the game's over. And the wind is real bad, and this big old dish, it starts to waving in the wind. All of a sudden, it just takes off like a flying saucer. Oh. And because of that dish broke, we got to go home early.
Oh, I didn't get to see the game.
Didn't get to see the game, but we had to go and chase the dish down, and we'll put it in the bay of the bus so they could fix it when they got home. Oh man.
It's funny. All these little artists have. They always got their little quirks.
Yeah, and football was important. It was important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did on the no-show shows like that because they called him No-Show Jones
back in the 80s?
Yeah. What would you guys do? Would you guys even go out, or if he wasn't there, would you just not even go out?
Sometimes we would. We would go out and play 4 or 5 songs, and if he just didn't ever show up, we would say, "Folks, we'll be right back with the possum," and I would grab my stuff and leave. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you guys come out and play some instrumentals or something? Or what?
No, we had some guys who sang well.
That was
Ron sang well.
Yeah, back when Ron was on bass, right?
Yeah, God.
Well, hell, he tried to emulate George's singing, right? So
Ron was great at one time.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, so he just come out. You guys would do a few like cover songs.
Yeah.
Or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn. But you guys knew knew that he wouldn't come. Out. George wasn't coming out. Right?
But we were doing this to keep the promoter happy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn, and
there was times. There was a few times I recall George wasn't there, but Paycheck was twice, and he sang in his place, and he wasn't supposed to. I mean, he just happened to show up.
Oh, really?
And one time, which was horrible, someone showed up, and he sang the show. It was David Allen Cole.
Oh,
and it was like, oh my God.
You'd almost rather just not play.
I'd rather not play, yeah.
Oh, that's got to be weird.
Yeah.
Did y'all do Tennessee Whiskey back then with him? With David Allen Cole?
I don't think it was out yet.
Oh, really?
It wasn't out yet. Yeah.
Dang, oh my gosh. That's pretty crazy.
Wasn't out yet. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, but the times the Paycheck was there,
ooh,
it was awesome.
Oh man, I can't even
God,
imagine.
could he sing? And he could sing all the old man's tunes. Man.
Well,
he worked for Jones?
Yeah, he
back
played
in
bass
the 60s,
for Jones,
yeah.
and during that time, didn't George kind of try to emulate Paycheck's singing? I mean, isn't that kind of where he got his style?
They stole off each other.
Oh, really?
They both did. Yeah. Yeah, but Paycheck could do it, man.
Well, you could go back to like YouTube and see some of these clips where Paycheck singing in his younger years, and then you go like, man, I hear a lot of Jones, movements and stuff, and then you go back and you're like, oh wait, Jones got that from Paycheck.
He did.
Or then vice versa.
Yes, he did. One time I had found a picture, I don't know where. It was a picture of Paycheck playing steel. He played with Buck Owens.
Did he really? Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever knew that.
I didn't either, but I found it someplace. And I had the picture blown up and in a frame, and I gave it to George one time as a gift. Mm-hmm. And he loved that picture. He goes, that's old John Boy on steel. He goes, I recall that.
That must have been what? Early 60s or something?
It was in the early 60s, yeah.
I never knew that Paycheck played steel.
He played okay, yeah.
And he played bass and
he played bass
guitar.
Good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there any of those guys like that would come out that you just were like in awe of, or were you just so used to all those guys being around all the time?
If we ever worked a package show with Paycheck, I watched it.
Yeah.
Because he was that good. And I watched a lot of the ones I watched lots of the shows that we did the package shows with Merle.
Oh, man.
And I watched a lot of the Conway shows until we'd probably done 1,000 of them. And then it just,
just got mundane after that.
But he was still that good.
Yeah.
Conway always stayed in the same key. I mean, from all the songs cut, he
sang his ass off.
He did. Man. He was great.
Damn.
I liked him and Paycheck and Merle.
And Merle.
They were that good.
Did you get to hang with Merle, like, just hanging out backstage and stuff?
I did.
What was he like? Was he crazy?
No, Merle would actually eat the crew meal with the band.
Oh, he'd just hang out with one of the guys?
Well, with Conway.
Really?
Yes.
Merle just always seemed like one of the, he was kind of represented the hardworking man, type of stuff. And he just seemed like a good old boy like that.
Yes, he was. And he wanted to play all the time.
Oh, yeah.
One time I got asked to go up to his hotel room when we were out on tour and play.
Just sit and
I
pick,
did.
huh?
I played, and his steel guitarist, Norm, stood and watched everything I did. And I was like, wow.
Oh, man.
I love Norm. He worked with him for 45 years.
And you didn't break a string that day, huh?
No, I did not. I did not, no.
Did you ever get like a string endorsement out of Child in that story or anything like that?
Nope, I didn't from that. And I'm trying to think what kind of. I think that was a Showbud brand string.
That you auditioned
that
with?
broke. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Do you still have it? That guitar?
No,
No.
I don't know.
I used to have an old Showbud when I was young. I picked one up at a music store, and it was a funny story because the guys in the band were like, "Hey, do you play steel?" And I'm like, "No, but I've always wanted to learn, and I love that sound, but I was so unfamiliar with it." And it was an old Showbud. It was yellow or the gold one or whatever. It was single neck.
Sounds like that was a Pro One.
I don't know. It was very, very basic, I mean, it was. But I go to this music store in Sierra Vista, Arizona, and I'm looking at it, and the lady's like, "Oh yeah," she's like, and so I said, "Yeah, I think I'll take it." I look it over. I'm looking it over like I knew what the hell I was looking at. I didn't know what to look for. So she brings out the case. She's like, "Here's the case right here." So I'm so stupid to this instrument that instead of, most of the time you put the case down, open the lid. For people that don't know this, you put the lid, the case down, then you turn the steel guitar over, set it down on top, or, upside down, and then take the legs off, unscrew the legs. Well, I'm sitting there like, how in the hell does this thing come apart? So I got two guys, because a couple of guys from the band were there, two guys, one's holding one side, one's holding the other, and they're lifting it up, and I'm unscrewing the legs as they're holding it up.
That's funny. That's funny.
We put it in the case upside down, figure that out, and put the legs in the little slot there. The lady comes over, she's like, "Wow, you know what you're doing. You looks like you know what you're doing. You've been playing this thing long." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just kind of start learning."
That's funny.
I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I take it out, right, and I used to have my keyboard because I was playing guitar and then had my keyboard set up, and then so I had the steel set up like right underneath my keyboard, kind of where I could sit at both, It was almost like a little desk.
That's cool.
And I had the volume pedal for my for the organ part, for the keyboard, right where you would normally have the volume pedal for the steel guitar, which I didn't know you needed a volume pedal for the steel guitar at that point.
Right.
So we're playing this little bar in my hometown in Wilcox, and this old man comes up and he says, "Hey man, I see that old Showbud steel you got. You mind if I play it?" And I was like, and back then I was like, and still to this day I'm like, no, I don't like getting people up. I just don't like doing that. But he sat there and he was talking about it. I said, well, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about, so maybe I can learn something from him, So I was like, yeah, get up. So he sits down on the I think I had a drum throne as a stool back there, and he's sitting down and he starts he starts playing it. I'm like, holy crap, this guy's good, And he starts touching the volume pedal for the keyboard. He goes, "How your volume pedal's not working?" I said, "Well, that's for the keyboard." He goes, "Where's the volume pedal for your steel?" And I said, "What?" I didn't have a clue. And he starts looking under the steel. He goes, "Where's all your knee levers?" I said, "What?" There was no knee levers on there. So he offered to take the steel, and he made these makeshift knee levers out of these little tubes. He put these little little aluminum tubes on there. And I tell you, Tom, it had three pedals. The first three pedals, Right. And I learned how to play like Steel Ride Much Too Young, and
really.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember all the other little songs that I learned, but I learned them incorrectly because I didn't have knee levers and stuff. So so when he put the knee levers on, that was like a whole nother. It was a whole nother instrument. I was like, I was lost, man.
Right.
So how did you come in? How did you learn on the steel? Did somebody teach you, or did you just start kind of sitting down and?
I bought one that it like you. It just had the one neck. It had the three pedals, and it came with the four knee levers.
Four, okay, yeah.
And that's the way I learned.
And most people don't know because we get people that come downtown and watch us play. So because we play all the time downtown together, and somebody will come and be like, "What's he doing?" And they're pointing at you like, "What is that? Is that a keyboard or what is that?"
Keyboard. Keyboard, xylophone.
So I love explaining to everybody. Okay, so the foot pedals, they're changing the tune of one string, and then the knee lever that changes another string, and then the volume pedal swells it. And, it's like, I mean, man, you got every appendage working on that
just
thing.
About.
That's a hard instrument to play, man. I mean, it's
challenging.
What even made you consider learning the steel?
I just love the sound of it.
It's like, the sound of it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got its own distinctive sound.
Still do today.
Oh yeah, I mean,
love it.
You don't get you don't get any more country than when you hit a steel guitar, whining and stuff. That needs to be back on the radio, so
it sure does.
These kids know what the hell a steel guitar sounds like.
Well, one thing about all of the gigs I do with you, they are country.
Hell yeah,
that's fun. fun gigs.
All the gigs that you ever did out on the road, who were some of your steel guitar heroes?
Lloyd Green, of course.
Yeah.
Al Rugg.
Yeah.
Weldon Myrick. John Hughes.
Oh, John Hughes. Yeah.
And we already talked about the great Buddy Emmons. Mm-hmm. And it was those five.
Were those guys ever out on the road playing with tourists? I mean, those guys, not tourists, artists. Those guys were mostly session.
They were,
guys, right?
but I got to work a lot of gigs with John when he played with Conway, and then then after that he played with Vince, and we toured with him a lot. I worked a few gigs with Ray Price, and actually Buddy Emmons was playing.
Oh yeah,
and those were always, oh my God, he was amazing to watch and hear.
Oh, he was. Just watching on YouTube, I can't imagine in person, man. I never got to see
unreal. Got to work a few gigs with Hal Rugg.
Yeah.
A few times. One time he was out with. We had a package show. It was with a girl. I can't think of who it was, but
probably Shelby Lynn or something. I think he worked with her.
It may have been.
I think he worked with her, yeah.
God, he played good. Hal was a great player, man. He really, he was crazy great.
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool because when he moved back to Tucson, when I was still there, he was he was originally from Tucson or something. So he moved back there kind of to retire. And then somebody was like, "Man, you know Hal Rugg's in town," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And they're like,
"He's one of the best there ever was."
Yeah,
no doubt.
So
no doubt.
He was coming out and playing 4 nights a week with us.
I mean, he just could play it all. I mean, if you wanted to play jazz, you want to play swing, you want to play the country, he played on every hit you ever heard out of Red Lynn. That's Hal Rugg.
That's right.
Bit of he played on a lot of stuff with Jones.
Yeah,
and played on lots of Millsap things.
Yeah,
I don't know which ones, but he did.
So did you ever get to pick any of these guys' brains, or did you sit,
I've got to
learn licks and stuff like that?
I've got to fit down with Lloyd for days at a time. I've learned a lot of things from him. Yeah, he was incredible. Well, he still is incredible.
I remember you saying a lot of times when we're doing a song, like a cover song down on Broadway or something. And you're playing that thing like lick for lick, and I'm like, damn, how'd you? And you said, well, I sat down with the guy who played it in the studio.
Lloyd Green.
Yeah, was it Lloyd most of the time that did that?
He played on lots of sessions. He played on tons. He played on all the Gene Watsons, all the Charlie Prides, all the Ricky Skaggs. The one we do, lots of the Ronnie Millsap ones.
Oh yeah.
He played on a few of George's too.
Who was the one that I Sang Dixie? Was that?
That's Tom Brumley.
Oh, was that Tom Brumley?
Was he great? Oh my God, yeah. That was a great player.
But didn't you say that you sat there and learned that solo?
Learned it from Tom.
From him?
From Tom.
So what did you do? Make him come over and set up a steel and show him lick for lick, or what?
I got a call from Tom. I was playing a show in Branch, Missouri. That is where he lived. And it was his wife's birthday. Her name is Rolene. And she wanted to see George Jones for her birthday. Oh. And he had called Lloyd Green to get my number. Oh. And he said, Tom wants to come out. I said, I'd love for him to come out, but I hate for him to see me play because it makes me a wreck. Oh. Well, he comes out to sound check, and we talk. And I said, man, I love what you did on I Sang Dixie, and he explains to me how to play it.
Oh, okay. So
he showed me note for note. And so he sits down, he said, that's it. And he showed me note for note.
Damn, that's too cool.
That's why it
sounds like the damn record when you play it with us, man.
I love his playing, man. And of course he played on the big head. He played them on the big head, the Buck Horns together again. And that's Tom, and that's like a classic steel solo of all time.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, that's great.
Man, that's what's so great about the music that you and I love and grew up with is there's that type of stuff that's on the recordings. There's licks that those guys are innovative, man.
They are. They
didn't play the same lick twice.
They did not
on hit records,
and that's because they for real they had really active minds, and the steel was a brand new instrument. It's still a new instrument. Yeah, and they just had all these different things to go.
Yeah, trying new things and new sounds and stuff.
it worked out. I mean,
but I mean, like for guys like us that are, now like you and I play Broadway quite a bit. You play with tons of different bands, down there. But it's like that type of music back then. You wanted to try and copy it exactly because the licks were so cool.
They were so good, and still today, yes. They are still good.
But like today's music, and I hate to bash it, or anything, but there's nothing there that like you go like, oh man, did you hear that lick in the new Florida Georgia Line song?
Yeah. Well, and like actually the songs are not they're not structured the same. There isn't any place to play because it's a bunch of rap talking stuff all the time, and they're just it's just not.
Well, that's crazy, man, because, people come down and see us. They're like, hey, can they request, one of the new guys' songs? And I'm like, I just, if I don't have to, I don't have any interest in having to learn that stuff because there's nothing there.
I'm with you, brother. I'm
there's
the same
nothing
way.
there that motivates me to learn it,
I know it.
So
I get it.
When you come downtown Nashville or somewhere, and me and you were playing somewhere, it's going to be country, man.
It's going to be country.
It's going to be some old stuff,
That is where it's at in my heart.
Yeah, I know you're an avid country fan first of all, and then country music lover and country music player.
Well, I just wish today they would play things where even the people can sing. There's nobody that can sing like they did back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, that's true too.
Or if they can, they're not allowed to on the record.
That's true. Yeah, I was gonna say they're probably restricted by the labels, whoever's in the studio, producers say like, no, don't sing that good because there's nobody out there that's going to be able to copy that.
Right.
Anymore. So, what are you up to these days, man? I mean, because I know you got off the road with George, and I know you were raising cattle and fishing and doing all the stuff that you should be doing, but you're picking quite a bit downtown Nashville.
Play anywhere from 8 to 10 gigs every week.
Yeah,
sometimes 12. But I would like to. I'd like to play a few and fish more.
Yeah, I think you should.
That's my goal.
I know a couple guys you're playing with. You could let those gigs go right now.
You're right.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
No, but for anybody out there who wants to say, and it's funny because you got your own little cult following, your own little fan base.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, really, because people come out and they're like, "Is that guy that used to play with George Jones?" I'm like, he's got a name, his name's Tom. But yeah,
that's funny.
It's funny to say because every singer that you work with, I mean, that's kind of it's bragging rights, man. I mean, people also, over to my left over here, that's Tom Killen. He played 30 years on there, and I give you shit all the time when we play and introduce you, incorrectly. Well, this guy played 65 years with George Jones or whatever, But for those of you out there who want to hear and see the legend himself, you guys could any day of the week. I think you play pretty much 7 days out of the week downtown on Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee. Is that right?
Except Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday's your day. That's the day that you
that's the fishing
change
day.
Your strings.
Yeah, but that's fishing day. It's true.
Fishing day, if we had some better damn weather, we got to get back out there in the lake, man.
I'm ready.
But anybody who wants to come see Tom Killen, you just walk down Broadway and say, hey, where's Tom Killen playing? If they don't know who that is, then they're probably a tourist themselves. But just say the guy who's played with George Jones, and you can find him playing every day except Tuesday. I know Monday nights you can find him at Crossroads playing with the legendary Vince Moreno. I'll tell you that right now.
Dang right.
My God, 7 o'clock every
Dang
Monday.
Right.
But Tom, thanks for sharing some stories, man. We got to do a part 2 because we didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg there with
Buddy, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, this has been fun, dude.
Fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys give it up for Tom Killen, and thanks again for joining us for this episode of Music and Memories. You guys share this stuff on social media and let everybody know. Tell your friends and send it on out there. We'll see you guys next time on another episode of Music and Memories.
Thanks for joining us for the latest installment of Music and Memories with your host, Vince Moreno. Visit VinceMoreno.net for show dates, music, and